Hello and welcome everyone to the 6th episode of the Reven Cast. It's pretty cool that we made it to 6 episodes.
That is impressive.
But
I expected this to be like 3, so
yeah, well, we're at 6. We're double that. We're double 3. But I'm Actual Dez, and I'm joined by a Panda Sniper.
Hello.
And today, while there's not a lot of news, Reven news to go over this time around, we do have one thing to talk about here today, and that is lore. Sharpie, one of the devs of Medallion Slate, posted some lore, a couple chapters, going over a couple of the characters that are in the game. And I don't know, there are some people that's like, lore, don't care, I just want to play the game. But you are going to have those lore buffs that are interested in learning the story of the characters, the scenery, just world building as a whole. Like there's going to be people that are interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean there's a huge subset of people that don't play games for the game but play it for the lore.
Yeah, I feel like to kind of just like bring this in, I think that's like part of the reason why some people play Magic. I feel like the card game Magic.
Oh, Magic the Gathering, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are just like tied to the lore, and it's like, wow, if I need to figure out what freaking Johnny's doing now, you got freaking turned Phyrexian, I will pay $50 for card packs or some shit.
But I remember I read a statistic one time about like World of Warcraft and the amount of people that actually spend their time doing end game content in World of Warcraft, and it's like less than 25% of the active player base does end game content, which means that everyone else is just like leveling or doing like lore stuff or like professions, like things that don't actually, matter.
Yeah,
and it's crazy.
And it's the thing is like, me personally, I do care about lore somewhat, because I like to have some sort of like connection or reason as to like who my character is, where we're at, and all that stuff. And especially like MMOs, I try to follow the story, and eventually my ADHD brain just goes, no, skip it. We gotta play the game. Come on. Like,
that's fair.
But today, we're just pretty much discussing about. We're just discussing the lore today. The first 2 chapters, they are live. They are public.
Yeah, they're in Discord channel. Go to #lore. Chapters 1 and 2 are posted. If you haven't read them, stop now. Spoilers. Spoilers
5 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're in the Discord, there's a dedicated lore channel for the chapters that are out now. If you're a patron, you'll get access to the chapters early. So hey, maybe become a patron. You get access to stuff early than non-patrons. So maybe that's a benefit for you. But yeah, if you're in the Discord, there's a lore channel. If you're not in the Discord, you should join the Discord. I don't know what the fuck you're doing here if you're not in the Discord. But the first chapter is about Kaizen and Vivian, but it is more of, I guess it's more of like in the past. I forget like where in the past it is, but Vivian is like, I think Vivian is like 19 in this chapter. And
that was one of the questions I had when I was reading it, was the age difference between Vivian and Kaizen. Because Kaizen's 14?
Yes, right? Kaizen is 14 and Vivian is 19. Yeah. And this is clearly like you can tell since it's a young Kaizen that this is like a past kind of chapter. But it pretty much just starts off with Vivian doing some hunting in the woods, and then she just giving brief synopsis of brief summaries of what the chapters entail. I won't go through like all of it, and I'll also include some of the audio versions of the lore as well, voiced by Sharpie himself. But we're gonna go over the chapters briefly, of like some bits and pieces, and then I'll play a little bit of the audio version, which I will leave a link to these videos in the video description, or I'll probably put a card up top, whichever one I feel like doing in post. Good luck, future me, I guess. But So the first chapter is titled Betrayal, and as I mentioned earlier, it is about Vivian and Kaizen. I don't know if you wanted to kind of chime in real
Yeah.
quick of how you feel about the chapter. Caleb.
So yeah, it's interesting. Um, Basically, TLDR of the chapter, Vivian lives in like an outcast society. Kaizen is a noble person. Um, and the noble people hate the outcasts because that's, there's some war like 1,000 years ago or something.
They treat
And
these outcasts as like savages and monsters.
savages, yeah. So then Vivian manages to befriend Kaizen, who is the noble, and uh, tries to get like insider information, wants to solve the feuds diplomatically that they have, uh, and then Kaizen gets betrayed basically, and all of the outcast people just kind of kill the town, or the stronghold, I think is what it's called. Was it Oka Iblik?
Ocha Iblik.
Ocha Iblik.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and the outcasts just kind of go in and kill everyone, including Kaizen's father, the king, and they just spare Kaizen. It's kind of the only thing. Um, Overall, I liked it.
Yeah,
Um,
I personally liked I liked the chapter as well. I didn't listen to the audio version. I pretty much read it as soon as it was available to the patrons. Um, because I was very interested to see how the lore would start out. And I thought it was very interesting that it started like a in a previous like time period, like in the past. Uh,
yeah.
and yeah, it's a bastion. Yeah,
One thing that
stronghold.
always that puzzles me still is the modern day versus past, which we'll get a little more into chapter two, at least what I've read of chapter two. Because like they talk about like this was a cathedral, but there's high walls and the streets are paved, so it's modern. And there
Yeah.
is a car in the scene, in one of the scenes, so again, it's modern. But like, who made the walls?
Yeah. So
That's all I could think. Like, because they're clearly in a city of some kind,
yeah.
right? Like a literal city. But who made the actual walls that guard the city?
So yeah, I think there are some things that could be like touched up on a bit more. Um, so I will say that like a bit of the world building needs some work, which I think it's done a bit better in the second chapter, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I still think it's kind of lacking some. Um, sorry that you showed up to this Reven Cast, Sharpie. I guess we're just shitting on you today.
Yeah.
But let me preference this with the fact that I enjoyed both chapters and I enjoyed what I read. But there,
Agree, 100% agree. But
but there are definitely some improvements that that could be made. Um, but yeah, pretty much it's just Vivian's out on a hunt. She comes across Kaizen, who kind of spots her out and everything. They chat a little bit, and then Kaizen asks. I think it's Kaizen asks Vivian if she would like to see or visit like Kaizen's the hometown, like Bastion, and meet the king and everything. And then Vivian was like, "Yeah, I'll think about it." And then later on, she was like, "Sure." Vivian's dad was is like one of the I guess leaders um of like their village. I forget what they're called. I think it's just called the Eight Chairs. So like a council of some sort.
yeah, yeah.
And they pretty much made up. They came up with a plan that Vivian was not involved in, and Vivian's dad was very reluctant to go along with it, but it was like, all right, it's for the best of our people, I guess.
Oh, also, he's a dick. All right, putting your daughter on the fucking front lines or whatever, where she's most likely to get killed, is insane. Like he literally said, at 3, tell the king to go to the fucking stoops or like wall with you where you're gonna be, like
Mhm.
just in case you want to get shot by a stray arrow or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's such a dick move from
I
her
mean,
dad.
so I think he was still kind of against it, but at the same time, he was like, well, this could be a good opportunity for us to invade the Bastion. It'd be good for the people, yada, yada.
Yeah, but when
So,
you tell your daughter to go somewhere safe,
okay, but also the thing is, Vivian had no idea what was being planned. She was just like, oh, my dad's just going to let me go visit this Bastion. Sick. Thanks, Dad.
thanks,
Um,
Dad.
and then Vivian pretty much like takes the trek over to the Bastion, and meets. I think she meets Kaizen halfway.
Yeah,
And then they
because she walks on the the road for the first time, and she's like, "Why is it so wide? And why are there two of them next to each other?"
yeah, she is very confused as to why roads are roads.
Well,
Granted,
but
go.
it's a highway, right?
I
Because
think I think it's
the
just a
vibe,
street.
the vibe that I got, well, because it says, oh, where is it?
They went to the
It
south
was
wall, and the gate is
it
on the
was
opposite
strange.
side.
No, no, no. When we're talking about the roads, it says it was strange to walk this forbidden rundown path. It was so wide, and then another road just as wide ran along next to it. What was the point of that? Why would you need two giant paths next to each other? So like this, I don't know the original
Oh yeah.
intention, but this gives me the feeling that it's a highway because one would go one direction, the other would go the other direction. But if you didn't have that technology and you looked, it would just be confusing.
So Sharpie actually messaged in chat that it is a highway with a
Highway
grass
for
median.
grass median. Yeah. So
Um,
like,
I don't know. I think it's like
that's
it's supposed
crazy.
to be like set in a sort of like
I know it's post-apocalyptic kind of.
it's like past modern time. It's sort of like quote unquote in the future, right? Like
Yeah.
cars and stuff exist, but like you have all these guns and magic and all this shit. Why not have cars?
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much Kaizen and Vivian kind of meet up halfway. According to reference Sharpie here in the chat, so they went to the south wall, and the gate is to the opposite side of the Bastion, where she'd be the safest. Because
Oh.
there are like guards and stuff on the outpost, I believe, of like the main gate. So they took the other gate where it would be safer. Because I don't.
Yeah.
But they go in. Vivian is just awestruck by just the look of the city. Um, it just looks nothing like what she has back in her village and everything. So it just looks completely different. And then Vivian meets the king. All that stuff, takes a tour. But then out of nowhere, what is it? An explosion erupts at one of the main gates of the Bastion, and it's Vivian's people, armed with it's another sort of like village or something.
No, it's the
Graston.
Graston. Yeah,
Graston.
they're like the rival. They wanted to stage the coup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they wanted to stage a coup, all that jazz. And Vivian is like, "Yo, what the fuck is happening here? I don't know what's going on here." And the king's like, "Yeah, you're full of shit. Lock her away." Vivian's like,
Yeah.
"What?" Vivian is just very like confused and everything. Kaizen and the king run away to somewhere. Then one guard is left to throw Vivian in like a prison or whatever, and then Vivian is saved by an archer. They kind of go back and forth a little bit, and then before you know it, it seems like the battle and everything just kind of dies down a little bit. An agreement is sort of met between the king and Vivian's father, where the king's like, "Hey, we'll leave. Just don't kill any more people, please." And
Yep.
Vivian's
And then
dad
Grast.
Edvar is Vivian's dad's name, Edvar. He's like, "All right, yeah, sure." And then the Graston dude was like, I want one more for my body count, and kills the king.
Yeah, pretty much. He was literally that only counts as one from Lord of the Rings. Like,
yeah. But then, so the king dies. He gives a speech to Kaizen. Vivian is in tears, basically saying she didn't know what was going on. Kaizen was like, "Yeah, you're full of shit. and then that's more or less like the end of the chapter. So
Yeah.
that was just a rough like summary of what the first chapter is. Believe me when I say it sounds better than the way we described it. But
It is pretty good.
yeah,
I
didn't want to. We glossed over a lot of things because again, didn't want to spoil all of it. Because we would like for you to read the lore for yourself. You had something to say, Panda?
Yeah, I do think it'll be interesting. Like in the future, what happens between Vivian and Kaizen? Because obviously, the actual game Revenblade takes place when Kaizen is a monk, like
Yeah,
shaved head, body art tattoos, like,
yeah, and
and
I think
so
this chapter portrays him with blonde hair. I think.
yeah, so
So
like it's gonna be quite a while, uh, until we get to like modern Revan daytimes. It'd be interesting to see like does Kaizen just hate Vivian the entire time? Like, or does Vivian try and reconcile? Like, I don't know.
yeah, because it
Cool
definitely
lore implications.
yeah, because Vivian is completely innocent with the raid and everything on Ocha Iblik, and she literally did not know what her dad and all of them had planned, and now she's just pinned as this you know betrayer to Kaizen because Kaizen opened his arms, was like, "Hey, come check out my kingdom and everything. It's gonna be lit." And then the raid happened, and then Kaizen's like, "Yo, what the fuck, dude?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I'm waiting to. I'm curious to see where the rest of that goes because again, it was in the past, so I don't know if the next time we see or hear mention of Kaizen, if it will be like modern time or like I guess present time,
Yeah.
or if it'll
Which kind
just
of
be more into like further into when he was a kid.
yeah.
What were you gonna say?
So that kind of leads us into chapter 2.
Yeah. So chapter two. Chapter two is I gotta scroll all the way back up because apparently I was at the bottom. Chapter two is called All for Nothing, and this focuses on Layla and Beckett. Excuse me. And I was kind of excited to read this chapter because it's about Layla, and then but a lot of the Revenblade community knows how much of I enjoy playing Layla, so I was very excited to read a chapter about Layla. It was also cool to see Beckett too.
Yeah.
Although I feel like I don't know, I feel like Beckett doesn't play as big of a role in this chapter. Sort of like he's there, but like it kind of feels like he's not. I don't know. It could just be me, but so pretty much for it starts off with Layla working in what's known as the 5th division, and there's separate divisions. There's 1 through 5 divisions. The first division is like the high life like utopian
Uber rich.
yeah, and then you have 2, 3, and 4. Who cares? And then you got the 5th division that is pretty much the slums.
Yeah. It's like plumbers, tech jobs.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Also, Sharpie, is this not just Hunger Games? Like, did you not just rip off the Hunger? Not rip off. I don't want to say that because if copying is okay. I'm okay with copying, but it is just the Hunger Games, right? Like, it's just.
I have no idea because I haven't read or really watched Hunger Games, so I know nothing about Hunger Games.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's different divisions. Layla resides in the 5th division, and she's going to I think it's like some sort of like she's going to classes and everything. There's classes, there's jobs and everything in the 5th division. But luckily, at one point, someone from the 1st division was came by to grab some people from the 5th division to help with a certain like repair project that was that needed to be done in the 1st division. Luckily, Layla was picked to go to the 1st division, so it was like her first time out of the 5th division. She was like, "Oh wow," or well, I guess not really. They got into. I guess they were going in. They were in a truck, and they were driving to what they assumed was like work or whatever.
Work, yeah.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, they're like, "Yeah, we're actually gonna have you guys here in 1st division. We're gonna have you repair this bridge or something here.
It was a windmill, right?
I think
Pretty
so.
sure
I think it was a
Yeah.
windmill, actually. Yeah, I think it was a windmill. So and there's like a few, like there's a little bit of mentions of like the other divisions, but like not enough. But I'll get to that like in a little bit. But yeah, the repairs are going as planned. Layla's kind of taking in the sights as they have like a little break. And then she notices a scientist. Hint, hint. It's Beckett. Beckett's playing around with what looks like his steam pack that he has now. It's just flying around with it, but something goes wrong. He crashes into, I believe it's a roof. I believe he crashes into a roof, or
I think he just hits the ground.
He hits the ground, hits the roof. He might just hit the ground. It's been a while since I've read the chapters.
He tumbled out of the sky, drawn out, terrified yell. A few agonizing seconds later, his unceremonious descent abruptly ended as he slammed into one of the metal roofs.
So, he slammed into the metal roofs. Yeah.
And then he dropped the final 12 feet onto his side, right next to Layla.
Yeah. So Layla's like kind of in shock, like, holy shit, someone just died in front of me. But she then checks his pulse and checks his pulse and everything. She's like, okay, well, he's still breathing, barely, but he's breathing. And then she's like keeping a calm demeanor. She like gets everyone what she needs to help because Layla was like top of her class for like medical studies and everything. So she knew what the fuck to do, but she only did all that she could until like paramedics and stuff arrived. So she was like, well, I did what I could. All right, anyway, back to repairing this thing, I guess. So they repaired the windmill bridge, whatchamahoo's it. And then
I will say,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I am, or at least I was certified as an EMT, and it is kind of surprising how much of this you actually got right, Sharpie.
No, I mean, I can only imagine that he did research for this.
Yeah.
Considering that Layla is more or less a medic.
Yeah, she is in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She's more or less a medic. Oh, Sharpie, you're also first aid CPR certified.
First aid,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like one of my biggest pet peeves when I read something or watch something. My biggest pet peeve is when I watch something and they do CPR wrong. But
it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, like for real. But yeah, it is like a pet peeve I have when like, oh, there's medical emergency and they just do it wrong.
And they just do it wrong.
Like if you're gonna describe how it's done, at least describe it correctly. Like or just gloss over it, But yeah, props to you for actually doing it right.
Yeah. So, and then after that, Layla goes back to 5th Division. And then the next day, she's like woken up abruptly by the same person that took her to 1st Division. And they're like, hey, no time to explain. We need to get you out of here before everyone else gets up. So, follow me. Then don't worry about bringing anything. Just come with me. And then next thing you know, on the way to 1st Division, the person who picked up Layla, their name, I forget their gender. Their name is Cosme, and Cosme basically just says, "Hey, you're going to be in 1st Division now, because that person you practically saved was the president's son, the president of 1st Division." So he made an executive call to just bring you into 1st Division. So get used to it. Layla's like, deal. She wasn't like, she was excited, but also like, this can't be real, right? Like, you're joking. So she didn't really believe it, but then she pretty much just gets shown to like where she'll be staying, all that good stuff, and she's just like in awe of where she is. And then
minor pet peeve here. I didn't like that chapter 1 had a noble that was son of a king and a poor person. In chapter 2 has a noble that's son of the president and a poor person.
I guess I guess there's similarities to the two chapters.
Like
I didn't really think of that.
It's pretty common in stories, and it's not like a huge issue. But like if you release another chapter with 2 new characters and there's a
One
child
rich
of a
and one poor.
noble and a poor person, I'm gonna be pretty I'm gonna be pretty mad. Um, but I do think that it's just kind of coincidence that it happened to be like
Yeah.
these were the two chapters that he wrote about, and that just happened to be their story. I just
Yeah.
thought it was funny that like there's definitely some similarities between the two.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, and after that, the next like section of the chapter is pretty much Layla living her life in First Division. I think this section takes place, I think, 6 months after the incident with Beckett. And to my knowledge, um, no, never mind. This is months after what happened with Beckett, and pretty much when Layla got transferred to First Division. Um, and she gets invited. She gets invited by some of her friends in First Division to a gala, and she goes to a tailor to have a dress made for her. And trust me, this is relevant. We'll get there. So she leaves after trying out the dress. It's the night of the gala. And then the president comes out and was like, "Hey, thank you all for being here. Also, thanks to this cool lass right here. She saved my son. Freaking way to go. Freaking secret handshake." And then sometime after like that announcement, the president pulled Layla aside into like a secret room, and there we found Beckett, the president, some lady with a raspy voice, the tailor, whose name is Mr. Andrade, and also some guards just like standing watch or whatever. Pretty much, yeah, same. Pretty much, let me see here. Pretty much discussing, what was it? Crap, I'm blanking here. I'm like skimming over. Oh, that's right. They talk about the powers of crystals. Wow, that dog is ready, dude.
Yeah, she's mad.
But yeah, they talk about the crystals and everything, and like the power that they could possess and everything, for like technology advances and like medical fields and everything. But and then they're like, "Hey, so do you want to like?" They ask Layla, like, "Hey, do you want to do the do?" And Layla's like, "That sounds kind of fucking whack. I don't wanna." And then Layla gets drugged, and before she like passes out, someone whispers in her ear, "The welcome to the Marcus program." So there's a little bit of a drop of the Marcus program, which is spelled exactly like the character Marcus that's in the game.
Well, it's not anymore,
Yeah,
right? Because Marcus was MRCIS, which is how it's
yeah,
that's how it's spelled in the chapter, right? But
yeah.
now the actual character is spelled Marcus, like
M-I-A-E.
MARs. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
I think it's going to be. I don't know where my brain is going. I think that's going to be
I know they're
addressed.
related. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably going to be addressed at some point.
yeah.
Because I don't think anything is.
As far as I know, Marcus, the character,
Mhm.
and this is pure speculation, so lore buffs don't hate me. Marcus, the character, was the first member of the Marcus program,
Mhm.
and I don't know if he like escaped or if he's just this way. I have no idea, but that's what I think the original intention was.
Yeah.
And that they called him like Project Marcus or something. Like he didn't have a name,
Yeah. I
but then it
remember.
just became his name.
I remember something. I think I remember like Sharpie or someone like bringing in some like lore bits about Marcus.
Yeah.
I don't entirely remember all of it, so sadly I can't talk more about it. But yeah, there's like this program that they pretty much force Layla into. Um, I think it takes place. It's going to be taking place like on a separate island and everything. I don't know if that island is ever mentioned, but like mentioned by name at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I mean that's pretty much the chapters right now. Also, I forgot to play a voice clip or the audio clip of the first chapter. But I'll do that here in a second. as we talk about this chapter. Well, I liked that this chapter had Layla in it. That is the biggest plus for me, considering I'm a Layla main. I kind of wish we had more world building, like more exposition with what the divisions are. Because, I mean, we get enough info about the 1st and 5th division, because those are the only two that really matter in this chapter. But I would still like little tidbits of knowledge about the, divisions 2 to 4, and 2 through 4,
Yeah.
Like, I just wish there were a bit more.
Like,
there was a bit more.
An interesting way that I could have seen that incorporated would have been, like, Layla wanted to become a medic, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's too good, or she's probably not going to get in at 1st division.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what if she went to medical school in 2nd division? Probably not as high stakes.
Yeah, but I mean, I also
think something.
Oh, I think it also I think it is somewhat explained, or at least it is kind of told that the reason why she went to 1st division is because she seemed like Layla was.
No. I'm saying when she read the book.
Oh,
when
okay.
she reads the book, she thinks about it, and
okay.
It could have been as simple as instead of trying to go to medical school in 1st division, she was trying to go to 2nd.
Okay. Yeah,
what was it?
I don't know. I personally think it's fine, but I just wish there was more talk about the divisions and everything. Just a bit more world building, because I felt like there wasn't enough of it for this chapter. Which I think this probably the same could be said for the 1st chapter, but I don't know. I think in the 1st chapter it's done a bit better. But I would just like to know more about what the other divisions are than just the ones that are in focus for the current story. But oh, maybe we'll see more about it in another chapter. But yeah, let me go ahead and play some audio of the 1st chapter, because I am fucking dumb. I meant to do that before. Let me know if you guys can hear it as well. I'll have it turned up.
Worn down clothing, but she didn't care. This was a sight beyond her wildest dreams. A silvercoat approached the company, bowing neatly. "Welcome back, sir," he spoke to Kaizen. "Your father is more than excited to meet our distinguished guest at once. Shall we head to meet him?" Kaizen smiled. "Of course. What do you think, Vivian? Ready to meet the king?" Vivian nodded dumbly, struggling to find words. "Then to the palace we shall go." The procession headed down the courtyard for a few minutes, eventually turning to the right at the center. There, at the end of this road, was a staircase to the most beautiful white building she had ever seen.
So that's chapter 1. Also, I think I mentioned it before, that the voiceover in these is done by Sharpie himself, which, Sharpie, I think you did a good job. But maybe don't do an accent next time as we get into chapter 2.
The conservatory was a magnificent
This is
mixture
chapter 2,
of
by the way.
classical and postmodern architecture. Robust black and white marble columns mixed with a grid of hexagonal black-stained glass, metallic shapes and patterns jutting from seemingly random facades, slate parapets lining the roof that were accessible, and metallic red trim hemming the structure with color. It was truly an inspirational place to be. No wonder the premier students from the arts and research field studied here. Layla walked into the imposing building, nodding hello to a few passers-by, navigating up the minimalist wood and glass staircases to her classroom on the 3rd floor. She never got tired of learning of the wonders of the human body. So much knowledge had been lost from generations past, and it was a beautiful challenge to sift through all the conflicting data from their forefathers, unraveling what they knew.
And that's basically chapter 2. But I highly recommend and encourage everyone to give a listen to the videos themselves. Again, I'll have a link to them in the video description. Hopefully I remember. But that's more or less it for today's episode. Not a lot going on. There was 2 chapters for lore that was released today, not released today, but just released. Chapter 3 is being worked on, from what I understand. And we may have a chapter about. I think Sharpie mentioned wanting to have the chapter be about Lotus and Kaya. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me if you would like, Sharpie. But yeah, he's wanting to have the third chapter be about Lotus, Kaya, Ona, and Valkyrie. Okay, so more than 2 people, which, I mean, would be a nice change of pace considering the first 2 chapters had 2 people in there.
Yeah.
In them. I guess also, like, kind of just backpedaling a second. I just feel like Beckett could have, like, been more represented in the second chapter, but maybe I'm just capping. I don't know.
He was like in a coma.
Oh, like before the incident.
Oh, okay.
But like, no, that part where he's like not mentioned at all, like that's fine, but because obviously he's like in a coma state. But I just feel like before that, it would just been nice to have like a bit in like his perspective. I don't know. But maybe that's me capping. I don't know. But a future chapter will be from his perspective. This chapter was from Layla, so they didn't act much. Oh, okay. Well, if that's the plan, then okay. Then my critique is moot. But okay. Well, we look forward to seeing that. But yeah, third chapter is going to have 4 characters in it. So I wonder how you're going to do that one, because it seems like that's a lot of
that was a lot of people.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like that chapter is going to be long, like longer than these first 2 chapters. But yeah, but there are audio versions on YouTube available for the 2 chapters, so you can listen to them. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today's episode. Went on a bit longer than I was expecting it to, I'll be honest. But you know, I mean, I think this was a good enough episode.
Yeah. Lore is lore.
Lore is lore. Everyone loves lore. Well, I guess not everyone. Some people just want to play the game. But me, I'm kind of like in between. Like I like lore, but at the same time, I want to play the game. So like I like a mixture of both. You know.
Yeah.
Like, but there will be times for some games it's like I don't care for the lore. I just want to play the game. But other games, it's like, what's the lore about? What's this? But anyway, that's going to be it for the Reven Cast, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the live stream. And those watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. I appreciate you very much. And I will see you for the next video, and we'll see you for the next Reven Cast.
See you.